before we start, do you want to? I wrote a little Hamilton rap. Do you want to hear it in honor of Hamilton?
Oh, go on.
Okay. Ready? I'm gonna go. I'm Alexander Hamilton. I fucked your mum. I got a real big dick. Didn't like Amendment 1. I can't rap fast, but I'm laying down the facts. You are listening to the Outtakes Movie Podcast.
Oh.
Welcome, everyone, to the Outtakes Movie Podcast. I'm Sam, and we are still going on a quest to go through every single movie ever made, and maybe a few on the side. Does this count as a movie? I want to say yeah. And objectively rank them best to worst of all time. I'm joined, as always, by my amazing team. We'll start with Amelia. How are you doing?
Hey, how you doing? I'm not feeling well. Oh, can't you tell? I got a headache, bitch.
Nice.
There you go, that's my rap. Yeah, I don't feel too good, but I have to be here to talk about this, but no one needs to see the absolute potato mess that's going on right now with me lying in bed. So
fair.
I'm a granny voice from the deep.
Joe, wagwan.
Yo, what's up? I'm wearing a hat. It's got Mario on it.
That's a fact.
I forgot you were still wearing that.
Yeah.
And Jacob, what is up?
Hello, I'm here too.
Excellent. So, normally we do little background checks and little recaps of what the world's been like. But it's lockdown and fuck all's happened when Hamilton came out. So, instead, we're going to jump right into it. Jacob, tell us all about Hamilton.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so Hamilton. While it's mainly known as being a musical stage show, it has an IMDb page is a film, so it is film.
Wikipedia lists it as a film as well.
Exactly. So it's a film. It came out on Disney Plus this year, 2020. Still sounds strange saying that. July 3rd. The actual show came out back in, I've got it written down,
2015?
2015.
Yeah.
2015. So it's taken 5 years for them to get it filmed and out there for everyone to see. Had anyone watched this before the podcast? I know I said we'd watch it pretty much as it was coming out, and then we didn't do it. We haven't actually sat down.
Circumstances,
It for
it's
a
fine.
month. Yeah. But has anyone actually seen it live?
I have not.
I don't know.
It's on my list, but never could afford it really.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
does anyone having now seen it want to go and see it live?
Yes, absolutely.
Hell
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. Good. Yeah, quite hard to find the budget for this one because it's being made as a film. It was a musical first and a stage production and then just filmed and released. But I managed to find that the budget for the stage production, at least, was $12.5 million. So
I can see that.
I mean,
that's
I
still
don't
pretty
actually-
expensive.
Yeah.
as I say, I don't know, context. I don't know whether that's a lot for stage play, or that. Does that mean? So that's what does that go towards? Does that go
So that's
towards,
the entire
building the
creation
sets
of
and
it,
stuff?
basically. So
Yeah.
you hiring your
Costumes,
actors, sets, costumes,
actors.
So does
actually
renting
theatre
out,
space. Yeah.
yeah, renting out does come out of that as well?
Yeah. I mean, bear in
This
mind
is
that like production design and all these kind of things that we associate with film still happen. So they all account for it. I know that when they tried to do that Spider-Man musical, the budget was ludicrous. It was over 100 million or something.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's intense. Well, I mean, so this seems reasonable. I mean, compared to films, it's low. If you would just compare it to your standard film, it's not the lowest that's been done, but it's pretty low. I would normally ask you what the box office was, but this went straight to Disney Plus.
Of course.
So instead, I've got 2 questions for you. Firstly, how much did Disney pay for the distribution rights?
Oh.
And secondly, how many times was the Disney Plus app downloaded the weekend Hamilton came out?
Whoa, that's an interesting set of questions.
Yeah, I realize
Okay.
they're
It's
going to
gonna
be
be
quite
something
hard
ludicrous,
to,
isn't it?
you haven't got a lot to gauge, really.
Yeah.
Ordinarily, you kind of go, how popular was it? So if it was this much, how much money do I think it made? But I think that we'll go, so yeah, first off, how much do you think Disney paid for the distribution rights?
I imagine it would have been quite a bit. Like, Hamilton has been this weird thing where before mainstream talk of an adaptation was circling, it would get referenced in just so much shit. Just like so much stuff. Like, it totally exploded and ballooned so fast. And I know that Lin-Manuel Miranda was very protective over the movie rights. Per example, didn't want it adapted into a movie. You know, would only do this filming of the stage show instead.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that gives him extra bargaining power. If two people were willing to do that, let's say Disney paid. It's valuable. It is valuable.
Mm-hmm.
$20 million for the rights.
Okay. Now, they were bidding alongside Netflix and Sony and Fox. Well, Fox at the time was separate to Disney. So there was quite a bit of a bidding war going on. Okay, 20 mil?
Yeah, I'll stick to it.
See, now that you've told me that there was a bidding war going on, I'm going to go a bit higher. I was going to kind of go... Originally, I was going to say 15 mil. But now you said there's a bidding war going on. And Netflix are like... They'll just throw money at anything.
Yeah.
So... I'm going to say about 30 mil.
Okay. Amelia?
See, I'm going to go a different route. I think Disney gave Lin-Manuel Miranda the exclusive, access to Mickey Mouse's virginity. And I think that is what sweetened the deal, because Miranda was like, this is a great offer, go on. So I think Disney gave away Mickey Mouse's virginity for this film. That's how valuable it is.
The mouse, it spread the legs.
Yes, that is how valuable it is to Disney. It's the one time, the mouse has spread his damn legs.
Well, I'm not sure how to put a monetary value on that, Amelia.
You can't.
You can't, it's a priceless. Okay,
You just got through the whole thing. You've just got Fox and Sony and Netflix in the background going, just say no to this.
Okay, so Amelia, I think you overshot it a little bit with Mickey Mouse's virginity. Sam and Joe, you undershot considerably.
Oh, wow.
$75 million.
Wow.
Oof.
For the distribution rights for this.
Holy shit.
Which is pretty good.
Really good.
Pretty good going.
Man.
But yeah, how many times app downloads Hamilton weekend?
I'm going to
How many do you
say...
think it did?
I don't know, because did it come out on the same day all over the world? I assume it would have.
Yeah, July 3rd.
The thing is I don't know. I know a lot of people that tuned in launch day to watch it, but I don't know all of those people already had the app. That's what I'm getting at. So
Yeah.
I actually can't imagine it was much. Maybe 1 million if you're lucky. Maybe closer to like 500,000, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
It's really hard to gauge app downloads. That's how. I mean, what's that really mean?
I mean,
But, yeah.
I'm considering I undershot it quite a lot last time. I'm going to try and overshoot it this time. I'm going to say 20 million.
20
million?
I don't know.
20 million people.
I'm only 2.5. I only think 2.5 million, because you got to think about it. This is like possibly like theatre geeks who don't have the Disney Plus app.
Yeah.
It's like those kinds of people in it that are going to be like, oh shit, Miranda.
I mean,
baby.
theatre geeks may have already gone to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Like live. Well, I think this is a testament of how bad of or how few times we've done. Guess how many times an app's been downloaded. Because it was 266,084.
Okay.
Which, that's, maybe we won't do that again, or we will, and now we have like a level.
Well, hang on. Let's, unless you've already got it, Jacob, to finish off the segment, how much is that like money made in theory? If everyone paid a $5 a month,
Ooh,
I'm gonna
that's a
Google
good
it.
question. I've not
So,
done that.
But you
All I
can
know is
5
that it was
times.
Buy like...
What was the number?
Can't you buy it for a year, though?
Well, let's just assume they didn't. Let's assume they just got them on.
Yeah.
On average, it'd be about 5. It was 266,084. So 266,084.
Disney would have made approximately $1,330,420 from just that month, from that show.
Well, that was just that week. So just that
So
week.
that's pretty
when we
good.
watched it, the more interesting bit is that was a 72% increase on downloads from the previous week. So week-to-week downloads, they spiked for Hamilton weekend. So it did have an impact. People did want to see it, and they did want to pay money and download the app.
I'd say that's really good.
So that's pretty good going. Right, now, we're going to try and continue same as we would as if it was a normal film by talking about the cast and crew. So, the director, a guy called Thomas Kail, he's not done really that much because he's just more of a stage director than a film director. He did direct Grease Live, which you can watch.
Was that the Netflix one? Was it Netflix?
I think it's on Netflix. I think Grease 2 is also on Netflix, but I don't recommend watching that one. I've heard it's a total dog shite. He's also done Two Broke Girls. He's done an episode or so of that.
Right.
It's mostly other just American TV shows. I think the biggest thing he's done is the actual stage show of Hamilton itself. So he's did the stage direction and the film direction for that. Next is the big name, who was the writer, the composer, and played Alexander Hamilton himself.
What's your name, man?
Lin-Manuel Miranda. Exactly. He's done lots of different TV bits. He's been in some episodes of DuckTales, BoJack Horseman, His Dark Materials. He was in one episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He was in Mary Poppins Returns. He had quite a big role in that.
The only thing I knew him from that I recognised him from, he's in one episode of How I Met Your Mother in like the last season at the end.
Yeah, he's also in one episode of The Sopranos.
Oh, what episode of what season? I did not say.
I have no idea. I didn't write it down. It said,
well,
I was like, I'll just write one.
Well,
it's on his
I'm watching
IMDb
it again,
if you want to go
so
check it out.
I'll keep an eye out for him.
But he's in there.
Let us know if he both talks and gets shot.
But right, this was what The Sopranos was like the 90s though, so he might be like a waiter.
He might be quite young in it.
Like a waiter or something. Or something like that.
He's done some soundtrack work for Moana.
Oh yeah, I saw that, yeah.
Pretty good going. As well as he worked in the music department on Star Wars The Force Awakens.
Nice.
How much of it he actually did, I don't know, but he has that on his
I don't
resume,
remember
so...
rapping in Star Wars. I must have missed that.
So yeah, next cast member I've got written down is Eliza Hamilton. There's an actor called Philippa Sue. She was also in Moana, the film, obviously, but also was in Amelie on Broadway. Most of these actors have very mixed experiences of stage acting and mostly TV.
She's stunning, I think, in this show. She's really, really good.
She's really good. Next up, Aaron Burr is played by Leslie Odom Jr.
Yeah, sorry, that was late.
No, you got it.
What?
It's fine. Lag compensated. You are fine.
Yeah, whatever. Sam will fix it in the edit. Don't worry about it. He was in Murder on the Orient Express. I have not seen that.
Oh, the last one.
The new one.
I presume it's the most recent one. Yeah.
It was alright. It was just the Murder on the Orient Express. Just, you know.
Enough. Hasn't that got Daisy Ridley in it?
Yeah, it does,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. He's also was in on maybe not all of these were Broadway, but at least on stage he's done Rent, Dreamgirls, and Jersey Boys.
His album's quite good.
I've not listened to
I
any of the
listened to it
stuff.
the other day because like he's like one of my favourites from the show.
He's
and,
excellent,
most
yeah.
people seem to have like solo albums, and I was like, go on then, give it a listen. It's not that bad. I would recommend.
Fair enough. Angelica Schuyler is played by Renee Elise Goldsberry, who I recognised and couldn't put my finger on why. It's because she's in Altered Carbon, which is a pretty decent Netflix show.
Yeah,
Joe, I know you've seen it.
Yeah, I like Altered. It's good, yeah.
She's been in loads of other TV stuff. The big ones are Star Trek Enterprise, Life on Mars,
Oh, nice.
Good Wife, and White Collar. Who else have we got on here? David Diggs. I said that wrong. David Diggs. It's because his name's Dave, like David, like the I is an E, so I just E'd all the vowels. He plays Lafayette and Thomas Jefferson.
He's excellent.
Again, more TV. Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, BoJack, Bob's Burgers, the new Snowpiercer show. He's in that.
I've not seen that actually. I want to watch it though.
He's
the main guy. Does he play the Chris Evans character in that?
I don't know. I've not seen anything
I
for
thought it was him. Yeah, like when I was watching this, I was like, that guy, I recognize him, and he might be he plays in Snowpiercer, the TV show. Was it Snowpiercer, the TV show? Did you say? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he plays the character that Chris Evans plays in the film. I think.
Okay.
I feel like he's got
He's also
amazing
in-
stage presence.
Oh, he does. He's so good in this.
He
He's
is
brilliant.
So good.
Yeah. He was also in Zootopia. I haven't got written down which role, but I think it was just more. It was something. A lot of these people have all played stuff in other people's projects, or have met each other on them at least once or twice before. George Washington is played by Christopher Jackson. He's mostly, well, you can tell in my notes at this point, I just sort of got bored of typing out all the shows because I've just put lots of American TV. As well as Moana and Lion King on Broadway. Hercules Mulligan and James Madison. Ooh, this is a name and a half. It's got lots of vowels in it, but I'm gonna butcher it, and
I believe in you.
let's see what happens. Although I did go on Wikipedia and they had the pronunciation of his name afterwards, so I've got no excuse really, but we'll see. So his name is Okedi Ete Onau Deowan. And he's also in lots of Broadway stuff. Hasn't really broken into the mainstream TV and film, but done loads of shows and stuff, so still experienced. And finally, the one I think everyone will probably recognise, George III, is Jonathan Groff, who his brother's being in Glee and lots of other TV stuff, and apparently Matrix 4. He also plays Kristoff in Frozen.
Oh yeah.
So there you go. He's up there. He's got some Disney Plus or Disney experience. Not that this is really Disney, but whatever.
It is now.
Right. It is now. I've got a fun fact about how it's Disney something later on, and we will get to that. But yeah, the story itself, it's about Alexander Hamilton, who is one of America's founding fathers, although I didn't know about him. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he's not on Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, he's not.
They're not the founding fathers anyway, but he's not there. He's kind of swept under the rug a little bit. Because this is a musical on a stage, it has a 2-act structure, which is different to like most other movies we've covered on here. And it has a little intermission in the middle, a nice little 1-minute break, so you can dash and go for a piss and come back.
I went and got an ice cream.
Oh, very, very like in the zone of going to the theatre.
Did you have a queue for the toilet? I did.
In your own house?
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. But yeah, so the 2-act structure can vary a lot in musicals. Generally speaking, Act 1 is considerably longer than Act 2, and that's mainly because the climax, like the final big bit, is in Act 2 at the end. So whereas movies have 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
1 and 2 of a movie are just what is Act 1 for a musical, and then Act 3 of a movie is just Act 2 in a musical. So that's that.
I felt like
it's pretty. Go on.
for this show, I felt like Act 1 was a lot better paced than Act 2.
Yeah, a lot more of the interesting stuff.
I felt like
happens in Act 1.
I felt like Act 2 wasn't like in a bubble bad, but like comparison to Act 1, like I don't know if it's because it's time sensitive to the war, so it's all just like go 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 go, and you get delivered so much information, and then Act 2 covers space of like what, like
Years.
20 years, I think, by the end of it.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of does sort of slow a lot down very quickly.
Real time, for the way Hamilton differs from like most other musicals, it's a very general rule, is the intermission is pretty much halfway. Although the intermission can be anywhere. There's no real rule with musicals. You just put it where you think it would work, or where there's a climax, and then everything's going to be almost like a cliffhanger. But yeah, I was intrigued because it was a book first that Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote. But do you reckon it would have worked in any other format other than a stage musical?
Wouldn't have been as good.
I don't think it would have worked.
I feel like if it was a film, it would have been one of those ones that if it was a film, it wouldn't have been a musical. It would have just been a biopic, and it maybe would have got some. If it had some big names in it, it maybe would have got some Oscar nods. But then it would have been forgotten about in like next year when another one comes out or something.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, because
And
I mean,
we wouldn't get
obviously,
Jonathan Groff's bit.
like,
Yeah.
like the thing that I liked about it was that they take the guy, like it's the music, isn't it? And the way it's like rapped, and it's all, you don't expect something like that from like an 18th century American Revolution story, do you?
Yeah.
And that's what's good about it.
I think
if it was just a film, it would have been no.
I think there's two key points in regards to like adaptation that you have to consider with this. So one is that I think if you adapted this into a movie, like a quote unquote proper movie, the major things you'd be adding would be different physical sets, and the major thing you'd be losing would be the choreography. Because one of the things that's really cool in this is that even though it's one set, and that one set is very brown, you don't get tired of looking at it, you know, because the choreography, they use very little props, but the choreography like carries you through all these different settings and scenarios. It's really interesting. So to lose that would be a bit of an issue. That being said, I think you could translate this into a movie and keep all the songs and keep all the stylings, but it would be an extremely stylish movie. It wouldn't be the kind of Oscar style musicals we've had, like Les Mis and stuff. It would be something more akin to like Moulin Rouge, I think, perhaps even more stylish than that. And if you were to adapt it into any other form, one of the, I was going to say issues, but I'll just call it factors of Hamilton, because in the musical, it's something that happens, but they carry it well. A lot of the lyrical depth is just listing names and events from the 30-year span that the musical takes place in. Obviously, this is because Lin-Manuel's a massive nerd, and he just wants to tell you about all the things that he knows about. And that's cute and stuff, right? If you just strictly read them, let's say as a book, it would definitely have like Ready Player One style writing.
Yeah, okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Let me just tell you about all the things that I know about. But as this musical that's super stylish, really funny, and there's lots of interesting things going on, it doesn't, or at least didn't to me, grate all of this just Wikipedia style fact dropping. It was just like, I was into it and I was enjoying it, and it went quick.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Yeah, I think one of the big things that I think what's nice is because it was Lin-Manuel Miranda wanting to make a musical out of it. The musicals can allow for a lot more creative license with it.
Mm-hmm.
So almost all of the cast are non-white, which is nice considering that most of the founding fathers and like most of the characters in the story would have been.
Yeah.
I think if someone was to try and make this the same story, if it hadn't have been like Lin-Manuel's approach, they would have tried to have gone with accuracy.
Yeah.
If it was a film, I feel like it would have been.
Like, yeah. It's nice that you can mix up the style and keep it like modern by having more modern-ish like music genres and a more diverse and modern cast.
Well, yeah, that's because with Hamilton, regardless of whether or not some of these things work, the intention of Hamilton as a creation is it's quite pure and it's quite nice. The idea that, you know, the founding fathers, when you think about them, are like mythologic, like, you know, I can't think of the word, mythologic. I
don't know what you're going for.
When you see George Washington carved into a literal mountain, or that painting of him on the boat, the story of the founding fathers is almost a biblical one. And to us in England, it's never considered a big deal because that's not our country. But in America, like, it is. There's a good reason they're still so patriotic. It's because they're very, very young, and the myth of their creation it's still quite recent history when you think about it. So a lot of America has been able to see themselves within the founding fathers. And that's a big point of their patriotism. But a lot of people of color who live there, who have always lived there, kind of don't get that opportunity. Their element in that story is really unfortunately, the slavery that was abused to build the country. And I think the objective of Hamilton, at least what I can gauge from Lin-Manuel, is to get more people of colour, more kids of colour, and from all sorts of minority and diverse groups to see themselves in the origin of America. However corrupt and twisted that story has become over the years, and even started out as, it is cool to see yourself in the country you live in. And that's something I think is nice. The idea, the intention is a really pleasant one.
Definitely. So again, comparison of film to a musical, it's the making of the movie hasn't got a big old chunk, but there's still some interesting points there. So it was edited together from 3 different performances.
Yeah, I thought it was a couple.
So they filmed quite a few, as well as some setup shots, because you may have noticed watching it. Now, I don't want to generalize American audiences here, because I know that it can happen here as well. Something cool happens on stage, everyone just fucking loses their minds and starts screaming and applauding, and because it gets so awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm told that when Alexander Hamilton first comes on stage and says his name, everyone loses their fucking minds. But it was nice watching this. It was just silent.
Yes.
So I'm pretty sure that had to be one of the setup shots where they either allowed cameramen on stage to like run around and film close-ups and stuff without an audience present, because that would have trashed. Imagine going to watch Hamilton and they were filming it and everything was blocked.
You'd be
cameras.
gutted, wouldn't you?
Be right, yeah, be a pain. But yeah, I'm sure that one shot definitely must be, and there were probably a few others sprinkled in there. But it's all, the editing is all pretty seamless and crisp and beautiful and lovely. Like the whole cast of this are all the original Broadway cast members. Also, originally this wasn't supposed to come out until October of next year, 2021.
Oh, right.
So to have it pulled all the way forward to now, that's a pretty big jump.
And to have it turn out so well as well, that's very impressive.
Like it didn't feel to me unfinished at all.
No.
Nothing about it. It felt like a final product.
Well, do we know why it got pulled? Because that's like over a year.
I think the main reason I've got them written down here is because of the Rona. So because everyone's in lockdown, like cinemas are shut.
Yeah.
The cinemas are still going to be shut, and people won't be going as much next year anyway, because the whole fucking world's changed from all this. And everyone's perception of, can I go out and mix with other people and go breathe germs and stuff. And I'm pretty sure the main reason it was pulled forward was, Bob, I think it was Bob Iger was the name I read. He wanted to keep it as October 2021 as a cinematic release, which would have made them a lot of money.
Yeah, tons.
But then he was told, look, cinemas won't be the same, might as well pull it forward, bung it on Disney+, we'll get a bunch of new subscribers coming to the service, and we might as well do this nice thing for everyone who's stuck indoors. So there you go. Also, this is a PG-13 or 12+ rated film. Although the actual stage production has 2 fucks in it. Just 2. The other 2 are kind of like cut out. So there's one where Hamilton like screams "motherfucker,"
yeah.
It's like bleeped out for dramatic effect. And the other one is when he receives a letter about how he's fucked someone else's wife.
Yeah.
And he's like, that was my wife you decided to. And he
fuck.
Goes, fuck.
Yeah.
And that fuck is the first fuck that has ever been allowed in a Disney-owned property, even though it's not a real one.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
Is it not true?
No.
Ooh, okay. What's the other one?
Disney helped. I don't know if they were the main producer and distributor of. I don't know how involved they were, but Pulp Fiction is a Disney property.
Is it?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes, I'm almost certain. Yeah.
Isn't it thingy? Isn't it?
It might be like a Disney subsidiary that put it out, but I'm almost certain
Really?
Pulp Fiction's owned by Disney.
Really?
Because Quentin Tarantino went on a massive rant about how he'll never work with him again not too long ago, implying he's worked with them before.
He's worked with them before.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. Well, that puts my fact to shame. Oh, well.
But I like the thing, though, if you read the tweet that Lin-Manuel put out about that.
No.
Because he really wanted more and more kids to be able to see it, so he said, I literally gave 2 fucks so you can watch Hamilton.
Hey, nice. One of them I noticed because there's the song, I've got it written down because I can't remember what it actually is called. It's the one where the Jefferson, Madison, and Burr are all conspiring against Hamilton, and they call him a motherfucker.
It must be nice,
But-
that one.
Yeah, that's the one. I think, might be. We'll get to it when I'm doing a brief run through. But they use just clever editing to just kind of blip it out so you don't notice it. Like, their lips still say it, but they just kind of add a music instead.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's done, it's seamless. Like, if you weren't looking for it, you wouldn't notice. But that's where it is. Yeah, what's the next thing I've got? Oh, the key thing to remember with this is it's based on a true story. There's lots of articles and forums and stuff out there that claim how lots of key details were just kind of omitted from this or left out. Like the less desirable bits of history. Like, I'm sure I read one somewhere that said that Hamilton himself had slaves, which is
The Hamilton
ironic.
family did.
Yeah,
so
so
I don't
it's
think
just-
Alexander himself did.
Okay.
I think what I've seen is that I'm gonna wait for the ice cream truck to pass. So yeah, I think the Hamilton family owned them, and basically this is Wikipedia, so citation needed, obviously. What I read was that it's not documented whether or not those slaves would have been passed on to Alexander when his mum died, but it's likely they were.
Yeah. So it's a bit.
I mean,
how do you want to take it? But
him as an abolitionist, it's weird because a lot of people want to talk about that with this musical, and I don't think they really make a big deal of it. It gets brought up a lot, and when it gets brought up, it almost feels like out of place in weird ways. More or less within the musical, the story is that his mate's an abolitionist, his mate dies, and then he kind of takes on his mate's ambition, but then it never really gets brought up again. As far as history goes, one of the things Hamilton did within America regarding slavery, well, there's two big things regarding slavery. So one outside of America was when the Haitians freed themselves from France. These were slaves from France, freed themselves and formed the nation of Haiti. Alexander Hamilton was, once they'd become a nation, he wanted to give them financial aid to start up, basically. So that's good. That means he didn't consider them like a problem for America to be lending money to. He trusted them as a nation. So that's a good element. And within America, I'd say this is less good, but framing, obviously. He offered slaves freedom in exchange for them joining the army. So this gets brought up in the musical a bit, Dreams of the First Black Battalion. But the way the musical frames it is the idea that a black person could sign up voluntarily to be in the army. But what actually happened is an exchange for freedom, which is more like, if you survive the army, then you're free, It's it's
so
a bit.
there's some, as I say, less desirable bits that have been left out.
Yeah.
I think just that the story doesn't contradict itself and is still more of a feel-good story, I guess, which...
I mean, Amelia,
it's
you were
something to
saying
consider.
to me the other day about how a lot of it has been made up. What extra little things do you know about that?
Yeah, I know that, you know how my father has no son, so I'm the one who has the social crime, they had a brother. They had a brother, there was... Oh, God, I'm trying to remember what I found out as well, but... Yeah, he's took a bit of creative liberty, hasn't he? With everything that's based on a true story, they take a bit of creative liberty. And I think, at the end of the day, I don't think that's bad, because, like, when Zach and I watched it, my boyfriend, we were like, it made us research it and it made us look into it more.
Yeah.
So, as a history geek, I love the idea that people have watched this and then have actually gone to find out the actual story themselves and educated themselves on it. Like, this is the stepping stone. If this gets kids in America into history, then I think they're on the right track. Even kids in England are probably
definitely
on the boat now.
Mm-hmm. Actually, before we jump into the story, quick question to you guys. What was your favourite song?
I think it's been changing a little bit, honestly, but
Mine changes a lot.
I think it's The Room Where It Happens has pretty consistently been my
Ooh.
favourite song.
Yeah, fair enough.
Mine. I mean, I don't know. I think mine's probably still the one. I can't remember what it's called. It's the thingy one though. It's the only one I'd actually heard before watching it, and it's the King George one.
The first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I like a lot of his stuff. Like
I
most
think-
of the three of his are all very similar, but the la da 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 da.
Yeah.
bit-
yeah, that's the bit that I'd heard before. The thing with it is, I think about maybe 60% of it is just the way he performs it in the thing.
It's excellent,
Oh,
isn't
yeah.
it?
He
Yeah.
just does it with like this cocky nature, and it works so well.
The spit that comes out as well and
Yeah.
just sits on his lip.
Brutal.
Like,
Yeah.
It's
I
just
love
the
it.
way he's got like a mad costume with like loads of gold all over it. He's got like a mad crown and shit. And he's just being proper cocky about it. I love it. It's just the way he does it. I think that's like 60% of it for me.
But I got two, right? I like Wait For It. That's a bop. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. That one, yeah. Great. And then, so Non-Stop, which is the Gentleman of the Jury. I'm curious, so you did that one.
excellent song.
But I love the whole song, but more importantly, it's the bit where Hamilton goes to visit Aaron Burr at night time, and he's like, "Oh, I need you to, vote for my thing. Whatever it is, I can't really remember. I'm too tired." And he's like, "It's the Constitution. It has amendments. Yeah, so does independence. All that nonsense." And then he's like, "I'll keep all my plans close to my chest. Wait for it. I'll stop here and see which way the wind will blow." That one.
Yeah.
I hope that sounds good on your recording.
I thought we were-
I got nothing from
I
that.
thought we were going to get a full rendition there, honestly.
Watching the afterbirth of the nation, watching the tension grow. Ooh, 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 ooh.
It's still
I
going.
am sailing up to London. No, okay, we'll end up doing the whole thing. That little section where Leslie's like, "Don't you fucking talk shit to me outside my front door, you fucking arsehole." That is sassy, and I'm all for it. And every time it comes on, even Zach turns to me and is like, "I know what's coming," because I literally go ham at that. Just for 3 lines, and then I'm done. So there you go. Shitty little backstory to my favourite story. Yeah, song.
Nice.
Fair enough.
You're welcome.
What about you, Jacob?
Yeah, the King George ones, like those. His stage presence is just immense. And then I think the rap battles they do, which are like the debates in Congress.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Battle.
I love those.
I feel like that's something that worked better the first time because I just didn't expect it and I thought it was really clever. And
Yeah.
the second one felt like it came too soon, Like,
That's fair enough.
it could have been, I mean, story structure interferes with this, obviously, but I think it would have worked a bit better if one cabinet battle happened in Act 1 and another happened in Act 2. Like, if one of them would have been, I don't know, arguing over military tactics in the first one and then a cabinet battle in the second one. I don't know.
Yeah. Fair enough. I think the one other one I've got written down as tune in my notes is Helpless, from when they're at the
Oh, hell yeah.
Really good. Really good.
But yeah, so the actual show itself, we get a cheeky little intro from George III, and he's like, "Here you go, here's the show, turn off your phones and shit." And immediately we learn so much about Hamilton. They just sort of list off all these things about him, about how he's a bastard orphan son of a whore, etc. I'm not going to try and do it properly because I will butcher it.
I'll put that at 1.5 speed. It'll be perfect.
Talking of speed, apparently the soundtrack for all of this is slowed down a bit,
Really?
or at least on stage anyway, is slower than the soundtrack, because I guess for audiences to understand it,
Okay, yeah. Makes sense.
which makes sense, because with a soundtrack you can just listen to it over and over and over again, and you learn the words like by diffusion.
Yeah.
On stage, if you miss it, that's it.
You might miss the
missed
plot
detail there.
point. Yeah.
Exactly.
That did happen to me watching The Thing. So there's the bit, Aaron Burr talks about sleeping with the wife of a British officer, and then they say, "See you on the other side of the water." I thought he'd swap sides.
Well, I think
I
that's
thought
kind
he'd
of
swapped
what they're
sides.
implying there. They're like, "Oh, I'll see you on the other side," because he's shagging this British officer.
But I think it's more that they're just not going to see each other until after the war is done.
the end of the war.
Yeah.
I think they're kind of playing with both meanings. They
I
play
guess
with
so.
like dual meanings of things a lot. But yeah, so it's slightly slowed down there. And then that's his real hair. He had that long hair, he grew it out, and then one of the first things he did after he was done performing was get a haircut. Because that much hair would annoy me. I don't know about you guys. I mean, Amelia, you have quite a lot of hair compared to
Yeah,
us.
it's a
us three.
fucking pain. 0 out of 10. If I had the head to go bald, I genuinely would, but I would look like Mr. Potato Head. It's just not a good idea. Like, you know how like that, like George Washington, Christopher, like he fucking pulls off. Like he's a handsome, sexy.
Yeah, he
old
looks
man.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine like a homeless, like hobo, like who's just been pushed in a canal. That's what I'd look like with fucking no hair.
Oh man. But yeah, so after we get that nice little intro of Hamilton, it's 1776. I need to stop doing this, but that's how I remember.
I'm probably going to do it
this.
as well, don't worry.
Yeah.
For that intro, I really liked the framing device of this, because using historical context, it means that even though a lot of this stuff is taught in American schools, you've still got the chance that some people don't know about it. So going in and saying to the audience, okay, this is where it's set, this is who it's about, this is how he dies and who kills him, and we're going to go from there, makes it really interesting, because then every single scene between Hamilton and Aaron Burr has immense significance to everyone in the audience, because you go in and you know. I think that's really clever.
Like even when they're mates and they seem to be getting on, you go, well, at some point he kills him. How does what's going to go wrong? There's still something here like to fuck up.
They do that in lots of stuff, though, don't they? They do the whole telling you what happens, especially something like this. Like, obviously,
it's a good way to write a tragedy.
Well, like one thing we had to do when we were in like high school, and we were doing about Romeo and Juliet or something. Yeah, it's Romeo and Juliet. The narrator like tells you like, what happens at the end, anyway, at the beginning, and our teacher was like, "Why did she do that?" And we were like, we're like year 9. We don't know. You tell us. That's why we're here. We're in school. But then, what's the other one? I think they do it in Blood Brothers as well. I think they tell you the ending in Blood Brothers. I think it's
I'm fairly
Blood
certain
Brothers
they do.
Is him shooting him at the end, or whichever ending it is. I think that's the actual ending, but they do it at the beginning. So like, it made me think of that when watching this. I was like, oh, it's like Blood Brothers. You shoot him at the end.
Yeah, it's a good tool.
Yeah.
But yeah, we almost immediately meet Aaron Burr. So, first character other than Hamilton we're meeting is his supposed nemesis.
Mm-hmm.
At least main interaction, not just everyone saying who they are related to him. And they have that whole Aaron Burr interaction, and in the same bar he meets all the other dudes that are going to be with him, at least for the first act, until they start playing different characters instead. So we've got John Lawrence is in there, Lafayette and Hercules Mulligan, and they're all loud-mouthing off as like in the bar as they do at the end of Aaron Burr. Then we get Hamilton jumps in with My Shot, good rhythm and everything. To
Absolutely.
that. I'm not an expert on this stuff, so if you are, sorry, I'm probably gonna miss lots of musical terminology. Then they start planning a revolution as they sing Story of Tonight. And meanwhile, we've got the Schuyler sisters out and about looking for a dude or a guy to marry them. The song's just called the Schuyler Sisters. I don't know about you guys. Schuyler is... I was not expecting that spelling. There's lots more letters in there that I thought they were going to be. I was like, Schuler? What's that? Who are these guys?
The soundtrack version of that song really makes me laugh, because it's like Angelica, Eliza, and Peggy. Angelica, Eliza, and Peggy.
Yeah, well, I mean, that pretty much sums up how much importance she has in the whole story, really.
Yeah.
Like, she's just there just because
extremely briefly, yeah.
She's there to be sexy in the second act.
Yeah, she plays Mariah Reynolds in the second act. Yeah. So yeah, we get the Scarlet Sisters and all that good New York stuff happens. Hamilton then shits all over that British sounding dude who stood on that box. That song's called Farmer Refuted. Good bit of back and forth and rhythms within rhythms and stuff, I guess.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff with that. I think just relevant to like what's happening like now this year in 2020. A lot of the language used by that guy, it's getting reused now by like officials to essentially refute the Black Lives Matter movement. They don't speak for me. It's violence. This isn't how we acknowledge your problems, but this isn't how you solve it. And you know, this is written in 2015, set in like 1700s. The language is the same.
So yeah, that's what we then get. King George pops up for the first time doing his thing with "You'll Be Back," which I've got here is one of my faves. And there's a line in it where he says, "You're making me mad," meaning, oh, I'm angry at this. That's annoying. But King George III was also
Mad King George.
Mad King George. So that's clever.
Yeah.
And after he's done with his singing, there's a girl who gets her neck snapped, and she's just relatively unimportant. You think she's just a member of the ensemble, but that one actor appears again and again throughout the musical, and death and downfall just seems to follow her. So
she's the bullet, isn't she, at the end?
Yes, the bullet. Mm-hmm. So she represents the bullet. She represents several bullets, I think, on multiple occasions. And anyone who sort of interacts with her ends up ultimately they face their demise. And I will point those out to you as we go. And then George Washington comes along. He's doing his thing.
Here comes the general.
The part that you've been waiting for.
There you go.
That's a great juxtaposition, by the way, between King George and George Washington.
Oh yeah.
That like, especially the intros they get, where King George introduced, he's got the army. Oh, a message from the king, and then he walks out and he's regal, and the music goes all, you know, what would you?
Trumpets and stuff.
Yeah,
and,
like a dandy. Is that?
Yeah.
Can we say that word? I don't know. Versus George Washington, where all the lights come down, there's this one spotlight, and he's marching to drums as he walks forward. It's badass, man.
Oh, it's great. And he appoints Hamilton as his right-hand man in the song Right-Hand Man. And this pisses off Burr. He's not happy by that. He's like, right, you need help. I'm your guy. I've been a general for ages. He's like, fuck off, shut the door. Hamilton's here. He's my guy. Get out of here, Burr. So already there's like, oh, that's fair enough. Burr would find that annoying. And then I think there's a bit of a time jump here, and there's the Winter Ball that Philip Schuyler is... Pretty sure it's Philip.
Yeah, it is Philip. Yeah.
It's Philip Schuyler that is putting on. We never see him, he's just mentioned. Which is where Hamilton meets the Scarlet Sisters for the first time. And all of this is a bit of... The way they do the montage, I think, is quite clever. They use this rotating stage they have. Any musical or show with a rotating stage, love it. Brilliant.
Good stuff.
Especially if it's like well utilized, and they use it so well throughout all of this.
It's good in this version as well because cinematically, we have to treat this like a movie. There is a lot of camera movements and even cuts in the edit that are extremely unmotivated. They're largely there just to stop your eyes from kind of, you know, leaking somewhere else. But when it gets involved, I often think it's really, really good stuff. So they often pull a trick where whatever way the table is spinning, the camera will rotate the opposite direction and gives an incredible sense of momentum to it. It's nice. It's well implemented.
Mm-hmm. And we find out that although Hamilton meets Angelica first, he ultimately ends up marrying Eliza, and we get the song Helpless. But while at the wedding, we get this then equally good like flashback rewind sequence where everything seems to move backwards and then everything is repeated again.
And it does a rewind sound effect as well.
Yeah, as we discover that
that's great.
Angelica is also like fancies, I'll just go with that, Hamilton a lot. I don't know which word to use. And we get the song Satisfied. Flash forward, and then we now understand the relationship between like all three of them.
Yeah.
I don't see how they could have done that another way. I think the way they've done it is pretty perfect.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Again, all the like repeated choreography and music and all of that, it's good. Then at the reception, Burr and Hamilton are talking, and we get the story of Tonight Reprise and Wait for It, as they're just sort of talking about more background filling in. Then we start having the song Stay Alive, which ultimately is about how Hamilton and his mate, which I'm pretty sure is Lawrence, duel this other general called Lee, who's just shit. He's just a crap general, and they're like, right, fuck him, he's no good.
He's the main villain of Assassin's Creed 3.
Is he?
Yes.
Interesting. But during the start of this song, there's a bit where Hamilton's just kind of sat writing, and there's a British soldier comes off from the wing and shoots. And who have we got miming the bullet, other than that same ensemble member, who then bullet narrowly misses Hamilton, which is good, because that would have been a really short musical, wouldn't it? Yep. Even though like Hamilton wants to be the one to be part of the duel, but he's like, no, we need you. You're too important. Stay out of this. You won't get in trouble. But he still does. As well as Stay Alive, we get the 10 duel commandments, which pops up again later when there are other duels going on. Hamilton gets in trouble. We get Meet Me Inside, and he gets sent home back to Eliza, where she reveals that she's pregnant, and she says, look, Hamilton, stay at home. I like how throughout this as well, as well as saying the dates at the start of like some scenes, they age Philip up, and he just says, oh, I'm 9 now, or
yeah.
Oh, I'm 19. I think that works and shows us a bit of time quite nicely. Next up is Lafayette says, oh look, I've got guns and ships, and sure enough the song's called Guns and Ships. And we can help you out. We can help the revolution, but you aren't gonna be able to do this without Hamilton. So sure enough, he comes back, and history has his eyes on him. That's what the next song is called, kind of. And we get to Yorktown. I'm kind of rushing this last bit here because it's all happens quite quickly leading up to the interval.
It almost feels actually like the last maybe 4 or 5 songs, when you're watching it, kind of feel like one big song that just has like a lot of peaks and troughs. Like
they
from
lead into each other
from Guns and Ships, which kicks in with this like really really quick beat, and the chant in the back, it's really good. It's just constant from there all the way through the battles, and your only really major stopping point is when Hamilton and Burr start singing about their children. That's it. That's like it's constant up until then, and that's like what, like the penultimate song of the first act.
So potentially, have I got this? Penultimate. Third penultimate, if that's a thing. We'll see. So yeah, we've got the guns and ships, and then the big battle happens, Yorktown, and there's this sequence of everyone kind of aiming and shooting to the beat, and it's crisp and looks good, and the spotlights and all the lighting work is just great and brilliant and good. I quite like, in some shows I've been to see, main one I can think of as an example is War Horse. They use like actual like pyrotechnics, which look great and really immerse you, but they're shit scary. Like, you jump every time they happen because they're just loud or you're not expecting them. I think people are just kind of saying boom and like there being like light flash rather than a big old sparky explosion.
It can work, and it's a lot more controllable as well. I remember my brother, who's been into musical theatre for a really long time, was in like quite an ambitious low budget short musical about World War One a couple of years ago, and I remember seeing bits from that. And they had this whole sequence of his character and his mate would come above the trenches and spend some time with rifles and shooting. And they use like sound effects of guns to go along with it. But they really struggled to get the timing of the sound effect to align with what their action was. And unfortunately, it looked a bit hokey. So that choice is a lot more controllable. So yeah, I'm into it.
I think it worked really well. We get the Battle of Yorktown, along with the song Yorktown or The World Turned Upside Down. And then this is the next appearance we have of the Bullet, as her and Lawrence help, like, they kill a British soldier together. They then shake hands. Maybe that's important later. Ooh. And then that's it. They've won. They've got their independence at Yorktown. And we meet King George again, who's doing pretty much the same song, but he's singing different lyrics this time. Singing about what comes next. Next up, briefly before the interval, we get Philip gets born, as does Burr's daughter, and we get the song that starts off with Burr, but then Hamilton sort of joins in and they're kind of duetting and saying the same message of, this is my child, I'm going to love you, and you're the most important thing to me.
This is another one with a really nice cinematic element as well, in my opinion. I mean, it's there even in the stage show, but just the framing of it, they get tight enough to show us the emotions of the characters, but they make sure the physical divide the lighting creates between them is on show. It's just good. It's nice.
That song is called Dear Theodosia. I've never actually read that out loud.
It's a weird name, isn't it? Yeah, Tears. It's fine.
I don't know. And then we find out, or Hamilton finds out, that Lawrence has been murdered or killed in a battle that was kind of unnecessary because the war's over. Was it because he shook hands with the actor who symbolises death? Well, either way, that happens. And we get Tomorrow There'll Be More of Us, because they sing that again. So what's next for Hamilton now that they've won the war? Well, he's gonna help build up the state. So he moves back to New York. Well, after the war, he went back to New York.
Nice.
Yep. And apparently he co-authors the Federalist Papers, which is what all that essay writing was about.
Yes.
How he wrote 51 of them, which is, I don't even want to write one essay, let alone 51 of them. Fuck essays, man. But Hamilton seemed to love writing, and so would do a shit ton of work to have his country be prosperous and decent, better than it was.
Yeah.
He gets selected as the Secretary of the Treasury by Washington, and once again, Burr's like, I'm right here. Just give me something to do. I'm come on, man. But he misses out again. The last little key bit is that Angelica moves to London with her new husband in Non-Stop. So Hamilton is kind of really fancying Angelica, but it never really gets explored much more than that. I think I've forgotten to write it down, but is it this song where they're talking about where the comma goes?
Not in Non-Stop.
Yes.
Is that a bit later on? That is Non-Stop, isn't it?
It's a bit later on. The thing is, it's just before they sing the song about Take a Break.
That's right. It comes later on. We'll talk about the comma a little bit later. But yeah, then we get the interval, and we get the nice little 1 minute countdown timer.
Yeah.
Did you like that? Did you think it kind of added to the experience of being like a theatre show? Would you rather it just sort of carried on?
Do you know what? I'm in favour of it, actually. Even with the idea that, because when this show actually does more filmic stuff, I'm really into it, and I wish there was more of it. But even with that in mind, it's nice to reference what actually goes on in a theatre. It's obviously a really long film, so even just giving you a nice opportunity to say, because I know it's a minute timer, but it's also kind of saying you could pause this now if you like, just if you're getting a bit tired. But also, if Kubrick's gonna do his noise bullshit in 2001, and he gets celebrated, or it's not actually that uncommon in a way for a movie to have a low point. That's kind of subtly telling you can't afford to do something else now. Yeah. So it explicitly telling you it's okay. I don't think that's an issue.
It's just a little bit more subtle than all those videos you have to watch at school where it's like, pause here, and then there'll be like a big pause button that like flashes for like 10 seconds while the teacher pauses and asks the questions to the class.
Yeah.
So they can answer and then
And
press play.
They leave the bloody cursor over the play button, and it doesn't go away for the whole time.
I was like
Bastards.
still talking about how they would show them. I mean, they had the TV on like these big trolleys they used to wheel in.
Yeah.
Those, and then whenever they used to press play, they used to pause it like really early on the pause, like they like dash for the remote and pause it as quickly as possible. And then as soon as they like the question was over, they pressed play. There's just an awkward silence as like the pause is like the timer like has to run out before it starts back up again. But yeah, I think a little 1 minute countdown is a bit more subtle than just pause.
Yeah.
But yeah, it works well. Discover this minute of a time jump, and it's at this point that those three characters, Hercules Mulligan, Lafayette, and Lawrence are all playing different people.
Yes.
So it's 1789, and Thomas Jefferson's coming home. I was going to try and sing that the home, but no. It's this soundtrack is too catchy.
Oh yeah, it's really good.
But yeah, he was the U.S. ambassador in France, and he's doing this brilliant jazzy like Fosse style singing song and dance with What Did I Miss? Great. He's very Willy Wonka-esque.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then we get our first rap battle, which is called Cabinet Battle number 1. And it's as you say, Sam, first time it happens, it's just clever and smart and just it works well. And they're debating Hamilton's financial proposals, but as with most rap battles, it's more about insulting each other than actually debating anything, which I think works really nicely. And you can kind of tell the further on in Hamilton's like political career he gets, the more just infuriated he gets a lot of the time, because by the time it rolls around to the second cabinet battle, he's just effing and jeffing and swearing and just more about insults than like being clever with his words.
Yeah.
Which I think is probably deliberate, right?
Oh, 100%.
That's just happened by accident. The next bit I only noticed on my second viewing. So we've got Philip and Eliza, so Hamilton's son and his wife, teaching him French as he plays the piano. And they're counting up in French to 10, almost. And the only other time that we've had someone counting up to 10 is when there's a duel going on. And sure enough, later on, Philip's having to count up to 10 again, but this time he doesn't even make it past 7. So he never ends up counting up to 10. He doesn't make it here. He only ever gets up to 9, which is 9 for all of you non-French people. And yeah, later on when it's dueling for his life, he doesn't make it to 10 either. So spoilers, but there you go. So yeah, it's at this point, take a break, where we get the comma bit. Because Angelica's coming over to visit, because her, Eliza, and Philip are all going upstate to stay with their dad, or Philip's granddad, and like, oh, Hamilton, come along. Pretty sure it's this bit. Yeah. And I didn't understand what the comma was about, so I had to Google why they were like, oh, they've put a comma after my dearest, here's why. And it's because he's saying that Angelica's the most dearest person to him.
Yeah.
Rather than just signing off my dearest and then whatever. Or starting it with that even. So if you didn't know before, now you know. I
think this stuff's done quite well as well in regards to like either knowing a little bit like you know, basic factoids, I suppose, about Hamilton's life, or not knowing at all. It's pretty heavily implied very early on that things aren't going to go well between him and Eliza. Yeah. But it sets it up like he's definitely going to cheat on her with Angelica. So when it's not her at all, that's quite the twist.
Yeah. Speaking of him cheating on definitely not Angelica, he's now left alone as the rest of his family have gone upstate, and here comes Mariah Reynolds, who he ends up starting an affair with. And we get to Say No to This, which I think, again, that's a good tune, good song, that. But he ends up getting blackmailed by Mariah Reynolds' husband, who doesn't really care that Hamilton's sleeping with his wife, more just that he now has some leverage and some blackmail material.
It's weird that
high up
in a way, because it's obviously it's done largely to set up things later on regarding de-seating, I suppose, Hamilton and throwing him into this downward. You know, if you do think of it as the 3-act structure, we've been here, we're about to do this. But with how fast it happens, he cheats on his wife, he tells you he does it loads, and then within the space of 30 seconds, the show makes him the victim.
Yeah.
And I'm like, now you're a bit of a cunt, mate. You're a bit of a cunt.
But yeah, so he gets... the repercussions don't happen straight away. And he's still doing all his political work. And we get the room where it happens, where it's him, Jefferson, and Madison all discussing just stuff over dinner. And it's basically... it's Hamilton's financial plan and the placement of the capital in America, which is all pretty boring stuff, but the fact that they kind of say, well, anything could have happened in there.
Yeah, it's cool.
How they came to discussion.
I think that's why it's my favourite, because it's really jazzy. It sounds very cool, but it's also this idea that, like, no matter how much of a geek Lin-Manuel is for, you know, the founding fathers and how the country came together, he has to admit that American politics has always been corrupt and backdoor since day one. And even though Jefferson and Hamilton have always been positioned on opposite sides, they're willing to give things to one another because it individually benefits them regardless of outside of things. So it's a really cool element added in that song, I think.
Yeah. And Burr is kind of the one who heads up that song.
Yeah, that's another thing, because he becomes like, you're told that he's going to kill Hamilton, so at the start, which kind of sets him up as being a villain, but then the show quickly kind of turns him into a narrator, which I dig. As a creative choice, I think is really interesting.
And especially in this song, how he's saying, oh, I wasn't in that room. Why not? No one was, but I want to be in there. So it's again kind of building up this stack of events or things that Burr can fall back on and say, right, no, you fucked me over way too many times. I'm just going to shoot you. We then discover that Burr goes after Philip Schuyler's position I'm pretty sure it's in Congress. In the song Schuyler Defeated, or Schuler, if you can't read. Like and we get our second cabinet battle, another rap battle, where they discuss whether or not they're going to help out France. Well, they probably should, because they made an agreement. They haven't really got a leg to stand on, and France aren't as organised as America now is, but then again, they kind of only are that organised because they got France's help.
Yeah.
So whether or not they made the right decision there, it's a bit shady. But yeah, by this point, Hamilton is just going crazy. Like, his opening line is, "You must be out of your goddamn mind." So he's cheating and he's stressed, and it's very easy to tell just based on his, I was going to say dialogue, but lyrics, his songs. Following this, Jefferson, Madison, and Burr are all kind of saying, well, he has George Washington on his side, and sure enough, the song Washington on Your Side is where they kind of discuss this. And this is one of the songs where they blur out fucker. So they say motherfucker, and just for clever editing, they just kind of glaze over it. And they decide that they're going to go after him. They're going to find some dirt on Hamilton and take him down. So Jefferson's also going to try and run for president. And Washington's saying, nah, I'm done. My time as president is over. And so they get the song one last time, where Hamilton writes a speech for Washington, and they do this thing where Hamilton starts singing it at the front and then slowly moves backwards as Washington takes over the speech because Hamilton wrote it. Works well. I like that.
The performance in that is excellent as well. Washington, like you can see the tears in his eyes at the end. It's really good stuff.
Yeah. We get more George III, where he's singing about how John Adams is going to be president, and once again the bullet is the one who delivers the message to George III about John Adams, which kind of starts downward events for Hamilton. What have we got? A few more songs. We've got I Know Him, The Adams Administration. We Know is the one where they start talking about whether Hamilton is embezzling money or not, and he says, right, no, look, this is what the truth is. Don't use it against me though. You gotta be good blokes about this. Don't screw me over. And because he wasn't embezzling money, he was just cheating on his wife instead.
It's really funny as well, because it's this idea that we're in this situation because you're trying to screw me over. But if I'm honest, well, you're not.
And in the end, we get Hurricane and the Reynolds pamphlet, where he just ends up publishing all the information himself, because it might as well come from him what the truth is, rather than it being twisted and them using it against him. So he sort of uses it against himself instead.
The sass in the Reynolds pamphlet is incredible.
Oh yeah,
Jefferson, you're never gonna be president now. Never gonna be. It's great.
He's such a dick,
you know.
But he's brilliant. And obviously Eliza is very upset, and she sings "Burn," which is all about how we haven't got evidence about any of the stuff, but any of the letters between Hamilton and Eliza. We just assume that he wrote that she burnt them and they don't exist. That's why we haven't got them. Which I think that sort of idea of them just claiming that this was something that they could do for storytelling.
Yeah.
It works. I mean, it didn't happen. It probably did, but we aren't to know. But yeah. I think, what was I gonna say about one of these bits? Was it the hurricane or was it later on? There's a bit either way where Hamilton's saying he's at the eye of a hurricane, and everything around him is blue. It's all lit up and nice, and all the furniture around him is being held up by the ensemble as they're on the stage, just sort of slowly spinning around him. So he is in the eye of that hurricane. Bit more of a time jump forward. Philip is now 19, and I think he's just graduated from college. And someone's been chatting shit about his dad, quite rightly, because he's a bit of a prick. But Philip's not having that. He's like, nah, fuck you. I'm gonna duel you and shoot you. And he's like, oh shit, Dad, I've just agreed to duel someone. What am I gonna do? And Hamilton says, nah, trust me, you'll be fine. Just point your gun up, shoot upwards, and you'll win the day. You'll have respect, because he won't shoot you for you shooting in the air. You'll be fine. And sure enough, he gets shot because Hamilton gave him bad advice. I don't know how many duels he's been in. I don't think he's been in any duels, but this technique doesn't work again a little later on. We get lots of sad songs at this point as he dies, and but Hamilton gets his reconciliation from Eliza. So songs we get are Blow Us All Away, Stay Alive, The Reprise, or Reprise. I've just realised I might have been saying that wrong this whole time. Is it reprise or reprise?
I say reprise, but I don't.
Reprising.
I'm questioning myself now as well.
We get the reprise of Stay Alive, I guess. And it's Quiet Uptown, where Eliza ultimately forgives Hamilton, despite for cheating, I guess, even though he got their son killed. But oh well.
I was gonna say that, like, some of the weird stuff with Eliza, like in the final song in History Has Its Eyes on You.
Yeah.
No.
Well, the very last one is called.
Is it Who Lives Who Dies?
Who Lives Who Dies Who Tells Your Story.
Yeah. She sings, "I put myself back in the narrative," and I'm like, that's an interesting way to phrase it. A husband cheated on her and a son died. I don't think she just chose to swan off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that seems pretty valid. But we do get another appearance of the Bullet during all this going on. She's one of the two girls who tells Philip where to find this guy. What's his name? George Eaker, I think. So she even winks at him and is all flirty and stuff. So, oops, death's coming for you, mate. And then we get a little bit more of a jump forward, and it's Jefferson versus Burr for the presidency. And Burr seems quite happy with himself. He seems like a pretty jolly character who's out campaigning openly, goes around to Hamilton and says, "Look, I'm following my dreams. Thank you for telling me to to follow my dreams. You're a good mate. Thank you, Hamilton. And then it comes to endorsing, or Hamilton. Everyone's like, oh, Hamilton, who are you going to endorse? And he's like, Jefferson. And Buzz, just rightfully so, very fucked off because Hamilton's just screwing him over for like the last time. And worse, Jefferson just rubs it in his face and it's like, you ain't gonna be my vice president. I'm changing that. Fuck off. So that's it. Buzz done. He's over. So we get the songs are the election of 1800, and Your Obedient Servant is when Burr and Hamilton start like arguing back and forth via these letters, and once again the bullet is the one to give Burr his quill to start Hamilton's demise.
Yeah. I love how bouncy that sequence is. It's not aggressive, you know?
Yeah, no, when they're signing off their name at the end, it's
yes.
A.Burr or A.Ham, and it's like, oh, this is all pretty cheerful and nice.
Yeah.
But ultimately it's about how they're gonna ruin each other. Yeah, they get the big old argument. We also at some point got Best of Wives and Best of Women, but I missed when that happened. Sorry, there's lots of songs in this. Sometimes they merge, but that happens at some point. And then we get to the duel, which is like the ultimate climax: Hamilton versus Burr, and we have the initial gunshot, and then we get a time freeze, and all this time, the bullet is back once again, tracing out Burr's bullet across the stage, and Hamilton has this big reflection on his life and his legacy and everything that's gone on.
You hear loads of lines from all the other songs. You hear like "Rise Up,"
shot
as
he throws it away.
It's really good. The use of motifs throughout this entire musical.
That's
it's extremely well done. And like that. When I listened to that song back on the soundtrack, that's actually the one. They used the filmic elements quite well within the musical, but that's the one that almost makes me wish it was more of a traditional movie, because to be able to kind of like play with the imagery, and as he's referencing the songs, replay a bit of imagery that connected with that song. It's something you can't do on the stage, but you could do in film, especially because you keep having hearing that sound effect where it's like, you know, and it sort of takes you back in time as he does it. It would have been nice. It would have been cool.
Yeah. And then time unfreezes and we see that he once again raises his gun in the air. But that was less of a sign of I'm really the one winning with the moral high ground. It's more, I'm ready to die. I'm next to my son. This is it. This is where my life ends. And that's it. That's it for Hamilton. He's met his end. But the musical continues a little bit. We get this final little bit of, well, we have Burr sort of regretting that he's the one who's going to be remembered in history as the villain who killed this heroic Hamilton in The World Was Wide Enough. And then the last song is Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Your Story, where Eliza's just comes to the forefront and is like, right, your time was cut short. I did the rest for you. I did all this campaigning and I read lots of I don't really remember, but she did lots of other good bits.
She said she spoke out about slavery.
That was one.
Raised money for the Washington Monument.
That was another one.
The Washington Monument, it's just a big stick, really, isn't it?
It's just a big stick. I mean,
you know,
Washington's. I didn't realize that Washington the state and Washington D.C. are named after this George Washington. He's got a lot of stuff.
How did you not know that?
I didn't know which Washington it was. I assumed it was. I was like, that's after George Washington, right? Surely. But no, of course it is.
I love the idea of like George Washington being like pulled through time, and someone shows him the Washington Monument, and he sort of smiles and he goes, "Oh, can't wait to see when it's done," and then walks off.
Yeah. But that's pretty much the end. The very last thing we get is a big old gasp from Eliza. She's like, ah. And loads of people were speculating as to what this was. Was it her dying? Was it like joy? And although Lin-Manuel Miranda hasn't said explicitly what it is, the actor, Philippa Sue, has said she would vary what it would be performance to performance as to whether it would be her like being pulled forward and seeing her and Hamilton's legacy and just being amazed by it all, or being able to see the audience like she was and all these people who'd come to see her story still on the stage. It's basically a fourth wall breaking.
Yeah.
This is incredible. Look at this, but it's never really officially defined. And that's the end of the performance. We get the bows and applause and all the usual stuff. Credits roll. Yeah, Hamilton did pretty well as well. It was very highly renowned. It got 16 nominations at the Tonys and won 11 of them.
Wow.
Which is record-breaking.
Yeah, that's very impressive.
No, nothing else has done that before, I don't think. I was going to try and print out a little table off Wikipedia of all the other awards and things that it's won. I decided not to because it's fucking long. Like, it's won so much. As I tend to like doing, I'll try and finish off with some fun facts, although I've kind of been sprinkling them in a little bit, so I haven't got that many left. The biggest one is that Lin-Manuel Miranda he knew he wanted to play either Hamilton or Burr, and couldn't decide, but he knew while he was writing it, he wanted to play one of them. The only other one I've got is that it was the fuck one, but apparently it was Pulp Fiction. So, the last question I've got is, I know you've said that you'd want to go and watch this now that you've seen it on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
But if you had the option of watching it on Disney Plus or seeing it live, which would you rather do? Because while you get the experience and the atmosphere going live, seeing it as a combination of several performances and up-close shots, you get much more of an intimate show of the emotions and the stage and what the actors are actually, like, more of their facial expressions and stuff, I guess. Because if you were to go and see it, you could be sat right at the back with a view of nothing.
This is very
like,
true.
People moving and then that they're singing, but you wouldn't get as much of an intimate performance. Which would you rather have?
So that's actually a really interesting question. I think, just speaking personally, it's long.
Oh yeah.
As a movie, you know. But when you specifically go to a location to witness something like this, you don't really mind if it goes on a bit. And it's not that I'm saying it drags. I actually think it's pretty well paced for the most part. But the length is a non-issue, and you put yourself in the space where you're like, yeah, I want to go and see it. I'm excited to see it. You have your journey there. You get all buzzed. You get excited. It's not even just the experience of actually being in the room with the people in that atmosphere. It's the whole day leading up to it as this event of something you're going to do and enjoy. That I find exciting, even if the experience can be tarnished, versus sitting in front of my TV with a streaming service open and going, oh, I don't know what to watch. Hamilton, it's a bit long. You know?
That's fair.
So personally, I'd say live.
Yeah, I was going to say. Because it's more, when you watch it live, it's the atmosphere, isn't it? Where, like, yeah, I suppose with this one, you get all the different versions of the performance. You're not going to get, it's not good, nothing's going to go wrong or anything like that. Not that anything would go wrong anyway. But the thing with live is you've got the risk of it going wrong. And and I say going wrong, I don't mean someone like falling over and like breaking a leg or something. That was an unintentional stage joke. But
that also, do you know that happened with the Spider-Man Broadway show?
Yeah. Of course it did.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, the whole thing of it is, if something did, like the music didn't work for one bit or something like that, like, it wouldn't be the perfect performance that it is when you watch it, but then it's still part of your version of that. You know what I mean? You're going to have a different experience to someone who went the day before. And it's like, oh, when I went to watch it, one of the lights was broke. Well, you know what I mean? Like, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, that's just for me. I mean, I don't know. If someone who's really into it, if something like that happened, they might be really annoyed. I don't know. But for me, I'd be like, oh, guess what happened when I went? It was well sick. Someone died. I don't know. I don't know, but but you know what I mean.
Guns
like,
were actually loaded at the end.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's the whole. I feel like you're watching it live. It's just it's a different atmosphere in it. And like Sam was saying, you've got the whole day. You go and you maybe go. You build it up in your mind like, oh man, I'm going to go watching this today. Yeah, I've watched it live. Probably. Yeah.
You still with us, Amelia?
Right. Did I fall asleep?
You might have done.
Did you really? Oh no!
I'm not gonna lie. Right. I have been listening, and you guys take that as a compliment because you guys have very soothing voices. And I'm just like, every time I went to say something, I was like, did I say it? Because I said it in my head, but clearly did not have the energy to say it in real life.
Oh no!
I'm so glad that it wasn't me to be the first to fall asleep on one of these.
Bro, I feel awful. Literally, I woke up and I was like, oh fuck, are we rating it? Oh no, and we're rating it, aren't we? Are we rating it right now?
We're about to. Yeah.
Stay awake. Just keep,
I'll start.
keep pinching your skin.
Yeah, don't worry. You've not missed that much.
But yeah, I'd see it live.
That was our little recap of Hamilton. Now, what we're going to do is going to go around in a circle and give any final thoughts we have on it and individually give it a score out of 10, bearing in mind that we're going to rate it as a movie.
Yeah.
Amelia, kick us off.
So, okay, if we're rating it as a musical, for me, and like a stage production, this is like a 10 out of 10. It's so good. I really, really enjoy it. As a movie, I'm going to give it... So, musical, 10. Film, I'm going to be bold, I'm going to give it a 9, just because, like you were saying, they have this creative liberty. I don't know if you've said this, because obviously I'm a knobhead, but they have this creative liberty where so take Satisfied, for instance. When they rewind, they'll cut, and they'll cut to different camera, and they kind of take you where they want your eye to look, whereas I'm a sucker for watching the one person in the ensemble cast at the back, because I'm just hella nosy and I just want to know everything that's going on, and see something little that probably might not have been seen or whatever. So just for the fact that they're able to really control how the experience is, I'm gonna give it a 9. Just solely because I think, like you say, this is a musical. It's not a film, so I can't give it a full 10. But I really enjoy it, and like I say, it's not only history, it's musicals, it's theatre, it's everything I really enjoy, kind of smushed into one. And I say, I made my boyfriend watch it, and he thought it'd be some crappy rappy musical, and he was like, no fucking chance. After he watched it, my guy has played it more times than me on his Spotify account. So I'm gonna give it a 9. I'm gonna be bold.
Nice. Jacob.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of your sentiment there, Amelia. It's because it isn't really a film or a movie, whatever you want to call it. It's hard. I don't think you justify giving it a straight up 10. If you as a musical, yeah, sure, but because it's not like there's anything wrong with it. There isn't, but it's not really a movie.
It's those times, I think, where it's got to. I mentioned it earlier, unmotivated camera movements and cuts and shot types just to keep your eyes from leaking off. Yeah. It is doing a job, but it's like a fully controlled film experience wouldn't have to do that.
Yeah, even if it was a film, it would kind of be doing that anyway. You don't get much chance watching a film to look at every corner of the screen and see what else is there before it cuts to something else, just to keep your attention. Yeah, it's hard to rate it, really, so sorry on that front. I'm going to agree with Amelia, but I think I might go a little bit lower. I think I'm going to give it... do I want to? No, I'm going to stick with Amelia. Yeah, 9 for this.
We've got to put this shit high, because think about how we
Hamilton,
normally score. We got Vertigo down in the bottom 10, people.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's definitely not...
Just casual reminder that Scooby-Doo 2 is a better movie than Vertigo, according to our list.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it's not really comparable to the live experience, is it? It's... Because it's not live. If they were to stream a performance and have cameras cut, I feel like that would be different, but it wouldn't be as slick.
If it was shot like a concert, I think it would be worth docking more points.
Yeah, but because they took the time to not just film it in front of an audience, but film it with an empty theatre, I think that's why it works so well and just fits, and it is exactly what it wants to be, and it does that well. So yeah, 9.
Joe?
I mean, I enjoyed it. It's good. The music's really good. But I've not listened to any of the music after finishing it. I've not got this thing up on Spotify or anything. I couldn't tell you the name of any of the songs. I can appreciate that as musicals that I've seen go, it's definitely the best one. And I love the history of it. It took me a good half an hour to get used to the fact that they're rapping through the whole thing and not talking. I did not like it at first. But then, it's good. I eventually was like, this is actually pretty sick. I'm enjoying it. I feel like I would have enjoyed it more if I watched it live, which is obviously something we've all kind of said anyway. Yeah. Saying that though, it's all the acting's pretty, well, not even pretty. It's solid. It's really good. The writing's really good. I mean, I'm not a big musical guy anyway, so I wouldn't choose to watch one, but I enjoyed this as far as musicals go. And like you were saying, if they filmed it like just, it's fine, we'll do a performance and we'll film it and it's whatever, then it wouldn't have been as good as a film. But they have took the time, they've been like, right, what's the best, out of all the different ones that we have, what's the best way to show this bit? Do we do a close-up, do we do whatever. And I think as a film, this particular bit, it's pretty well shot. There's not really much, you don't really miss anything. But like I said, I feel like I would have enjoyed it more as the live experience. But that's always going to be the case anyway, because it's, a live show. I'm going to give it a 7, just because I'll rewatch it at some point, but I can't imagine it's going to be in the next few months.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's the history of it that I love so much. It's the time
it's
period.
Very much in your era, really. It's almost Pirates era, isn't it?
Well, yeah, the pirates and stuff had only just stopped, and most of it was still going on anyway. So it just got overshadowed by the whole American Revolution thing. So all you just started working for one side against the other. You know what I mean? So I can appreciate it. Plus costumes are well sick. Everyone with the flintlocks and the cool coats and shit, and the
those big blue-on coats. They're rad.
It's well sick. I'll give them that. I'm pretty cool. But yeah, actually no, 7, yeah.
7. Okay, cool. I was extremely primed to hate this going in because I'm a massive fucking hipster, and when people like things, that's automatically bad. But as it turns out, it's really good. Yeah, there's good reasons for people to have liked this. I have had the soundtrack on, basically on repeat. It's getting really annoying. I'm waking up and I'm hearing shit from the show. But yeah, no, it's rad. It has the kind of difficult task of taking the setting is not boring and the idea is not boring, but the idea of listing off a bunch of just people arguing about the Constitution and what year they were arguing about it, that is dull. And they managed to make it really interesting and really entertaining. The choreography is superb. It's constantly really interesting. Often they'll make it a part of the music as well, using footsteps to elevate, bangs and elements of the beat, which is really cool. I like the use of rap. It doesn't feel like it's something that's been tacked on as a gimmick. It doesn't feel like someone had to go, we want to make an American Revolution musical. Yeah, cool, whatever. Musicals are lame. You need to do something that'll get the kids excited. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like it was always intended to be like this. And I like the in-universe so Philip has the song that he sings on his birthday. about how he's a poet, and Eliza's in the background beatboxing for him. You know, it's immediately the music cuts for her to do that, and it's really funny. It's well done. Yeah, I massively dug this, and as a film, outside the normal production standpoints, it still hits a lot of the criteria, you know, because what is good within visual storytelling is good across all visual storytelling. So uses of color for people's costumes, uses of lighting for tone, use of like repeated motifs for clever writing and storytelling. The storytelling in this is excellent. Yeah, I wish there was more filmic elements, but I also don't think that like the extra bits I'm wanting are just pushing it over the edge. It's not like I'm sat there going, oh, this is a bit dull, isn't it? You know. So much like Amelia and Jacob, I'm also going to give it a 9, which gives us an overall score of, it's up there, 85 out of 100. So we have 2 potential contenders. It's very high. So I'm going to ask everyone, starting with Amelia, if you preferred Hamilton or Die Hard.
Hamilton.
Ooh.
Hamilton, very quick.
Yeah, Hamilton.
Jacob.
If I had to watch it, yeah, Hamilton.
Now that's a good question. I think I'm gonna have to go with Hamilton. I mean, Die Hard is great and I love it, and I watch it every year, every Christmas without fail, because it's just fucking love everything about it. Hamilton is just something more special about it. It's just, it has that extra thing. I mean, if we were rating Die Hard at the time that Die Hard came out, yeah, there are the action movies and stuff, but Die Hard it's special for a reason. Like, it does its thing, and it does it very well. And there've been lots of other knockoff Die Hards, even other Die Hards that haven't quite hit what Die Hard is. But it's no Hamilton. So yeah, Hamilton for me.
Surprising. Joe.
I don't know. Because it depends. They're 2 entirely different things. You know what I mean? Like, if I was doing it based on what I enjoyed watching more, I'd pick Die Hard. But this it's the concept of it, not the concept, but no, I'm gonna have to pick Hamilton because like it's very close, but it's just overall. I don't know what it is. There's something about it that just in my mind puts it in front. I don't know what it is, but yeah, like if I was gonna sit
you're
down,
a man who likes a musical. It's safe. Admit it. You're a man who likes a musical.
I mean, this is the thing. Like, I could do like musicals, but I wouldn't actively seek one out. I don't think. This is the thing. I've picked Hamilton, but if I was gonna choose between the 2 of them, I'd pick Die Hard. But there's just something about Hamilton. Hamilton's just, I just appreciate it more as like an art form. I think. You know what I mean? Like, there's more. The thing with Die Hard is, it's like, oh man, let's make a sick action film in a building. Let's get some of that Bruce Willis in there. I don't think he was he famous? It doesn't matter. And he was like, hey, it's set up at Christmas. Whereas Hamilton, it's like, right, I want to tell the story, but I want to do it. You know what I mean? I feel there's more love put into Hamilton. I think that's my pick. But yeah, Hamilton. That's my pick.
Yeah, I can feel that.
That's a good way of putting it.
I'd also go Hamilton. So Hamilton's across the board, which gives us 1 more candidate. Starting again with Amelia. Hamilton or Shaun of the Dead?
Hamilton.
Hamilton.
Now, I'd say that these 2 are more clever.
Yeah, similarly labours of love,
yeah,
I think.
Exactly. Oh man, I mean, everything that gets done in Shaun of the Dead is done cleverly, and it sort of does new things, and oh man, that's hard. I've no idea. I think ultimately it kind of comes down as to which one would I rather watch again, sort of thing. And I think I'm gonna have to say Hamilton because I've seen Shaun of the Dead lots.
Yeah.
And while it is incredibly rewatchable and still really funny and everything about it all holds up and I think will forever, Hamilton just has that extra little thing, I think. For me, anyway. Yeah. Hamilton.
Joe?
Yeah, it's Hamilton.
I mean, you can't. You've been too involved with Shaun of the Dead, really.
Yeah. And the thing with Shaun of the Dead is that whole trilogy. It's not even the first one I'd put on anyway. I'd watch Hot Fuzz before I'd watch Shaun of the Dead to begin with. So, you know. And
Fair.
to be fair, I actually think I'd watch The World's End before I watch Shaun of the Dead because I've only watched The World's End like twice or 3 times. It's not as good as Shaun of the Dead. You know what? That's a whole other episode. Doesn't matter. Hamilton.
I think I would have gone for Shaun of the Dead because I do think it's a better movie. Although I totally get what you guys are saying. Regardless, it wins out. Hamilton is officially the fourth greatest movie of all time, placing between Shaun of the Dead and American Animals.
Oh, wow.
Man, I didn't realise we ranked that one so high.
We rated it very
Whoa!
high.
Splitting the hairs between American Animals and Hamilton, that would have been tricky.
Yeah, because they're both like super creative.
Yeah, I wouldn't have liked to have done that. So I'm glad that we didn't have to.
So that brings us to the most important part of the show, and that's finding out what we're going to be watching next time. Joe.
So I was trying to think about. I had a few different films I wanted to watch, think, but I thought, considering the way what we've done so far, if you think about it, Amelia picked. Was it Amelia that picked Prince of the Frog? It was, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was.
Yeah. So Amelia
God,
picked
that was
Prince of the
years
Frog.
ago.
Yeah. Which is, like, it's a horror. It's a historical film because it's set in the past. But the thing is, it's a historical animated film, which you don't really get a lot of. History films tend to be live action, whatever. And then
Sure.
Hamilton, which is a bit further back. It is also American history, but again, it's a musical and it's got rap and stuff. So I've decided to carry on that tradition, and I've gone a bit further back in American history to like the early days of America. And again, I've got a history film that's not just a biopic or whatever. It's like its own. It's a film. It's a genre that isn't typically historical. It's normally set Monday. So we're going to go for a horror film set back in the day, and we're going to be watching The Witch.
I've not seen that. The Witch.
I've not heard of this.
The Witch.
The Witch, yeah, but it's have you heard you've heard of The Lighthouse? The Lighthouse that came out last year. The one with the black and white one with
The one with
Willem Dafoe and Robert
Pattinson.
Yeah. So The Witch is the guy who directed a guy called Robert Eggers. The Witch is his first film before that, and it's set like in colonial America, and it's about kind of witches and stuff like that in like the early days of America. And it's good. I enjoyed it.
Son of a bitch! This looks scary.
I'm a
baby pussy boy. This you son of a bitch.
I don't do good with horror.
The thing with this is that I didn't find it scary. It's just suspenseful, and
Okay.
it's one of those films. There's not jump scares. There's no jump scares in it. So
You say that,
it's
but to
very,
me it'll be a jump scare.
Well, I mean, yeah, I suppose. I didn't think it was scary. It's like how
I'm seeing a weird prosthetic grey-green goblin. Is this in the movie?
I don't know what. You're looking at the wrong one, I think. What the hell is that? I don't remember that. Are you looking at the right one?
That's some nightmare fuel.
What have
It
you
says-
typed in?
Is this the Witch?
Oh yeah, that's the right one, but I don't remember that being in the film. All right, fair enough. But yeah, no, it's like if you watch Midsummer, that one's not scary. It's just very weird and suspenseful.
Okay.
It's that kind of
like
horror.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's
I have now seen Midsummer.
It's like atmosphere. It's the atmosphere. I enjoyed it anyway. But it's the history I like behind it anyway. So
I'll say I'll attempt it and I'll watch it, but I won't lie if I pussy out. Okay.
it's there's no jump scares. It's not. It's just I don't know. Yeah, suspense again.
What's it streaming on? If it's streaming on anything,
I don't know if it is. I watched it on. I rented it on Amazon. But this was a while ago though, so it might be on something now. But yeah.
Have to have a look. Is it how are you spelling it? Is it like it is VVITCH?
So I think when you type it in, it's just the witch with a W.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I think it's just the witch with a W. Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder
So-
if you have to have a look and see if there's a meaning between the two V's or the.
Well-
Fuck, that looks cool.
See, this is the reason I picked it, is because the Robert Eggers guy, I actually read the script and he does so much research into his films. Like, a lot of the dialogue from this film is taken directly from, like, diaries and stuff from that time. And when he's writing his scripts, he puts in so much detail that you don't need. Like, he'll describe the sounds and the smells and stuff like that. And, you know what I mean, that's why I want to, like, watch it, because he puts so much work into it. But, yeah.
Cool.
There you go. Plus, he only makes things set in, like historical, folklore-y stuff. I don't think he's ever made a film. I mean, I don't know, I'll have to properly look into it. But from, like, quickly skimming over the 2 films he's made, the ones he's planning on making, and, like, the short films he's done, they're all set in the past. So, you know.
Interesting.
But, yeah.
I shall try.
But, yeah.
Fair dues. Okay, cool. Thank you very much for watching this episode on Hamilton. Let us know what you think of the movie, musical, whatever, in the comments down below. If you like what we do here at the Outtakes, consider giving us a like and a subscribe. That'd be cool. Or if you've been listening to us, you can do the same on your favorite podcasting apps. You can hit the follow button. You can rate us on iTunes. I think that's a thing. Wow, I've not done this outro for a while. I'm getting all over the place. Basically, if you've watched us, thanks. You can listen to us. If you've listened to us, you can watch us. And we're on Twitter and Instagram at The Real Outtakes. That's pretty cool. Catch you round next time. God. Who's going to live and write and tell my story? Fucking nobody, I think. Jesus. Bye.